Are guns and gun control going to be a topic in the next presidential election? I'll give you my prediction, but first, let's talk about this gun giveaway we have going on. It's happening right now. It's absolutely free, but it ends really soon. All you need to do is click the link in the description down below to find out which brand new gun you could win. So, question has popped up. Do I think that guns and gun control are going to be an issue in the next presidential election? In a word, yes. Boy, howdy do I ever think they're going to be an issue in the next presidential election. But more importantly than that, I think they're going to be an issue in every single election, from municipal to state level to local, everything leading right up to that presidential election. The idea that gun control is on the docket, gun control is on the ballot, makes people think that guns are a political football. Yes, they get kicked back and forth. Understand that people are always talking about guns and gun control and who's going to do what about this. And I want to stress again, as I've said before, time and time again, for me, this is not about political party, though one political party oftentimes is seen as pushing gun control and another one is not. But directly, when you're dealing with your politicians in your state where you are, this is about the principle of self-defense, not the politics or the political party of what's going on. So I need you as an informed voter to start paying attention to what your current elected representatives are saying and, more importantly, what they're doing about gun control. Yes, gun control is going to be a topic. It is going to ramp up and it is going to keep going. Now, we hear about mass killings. I was just reading some stuff about this because that's what I do. It's my job. That a statistical scientist was looking over the review of mass killings. They're staying about the same, maybe 30 mass killings a year. The number of mass shootings where 4 or more people are shot, those seem to be going up a little bit and a trend line going up. But where 4 or more people are killed, that's staying about the same. The biggest issue in the area of what folks are calling gun violence is suicide. More than half of the deaths in America that happen with a firearm happen because of suicide. So those are just some data points that you need to start making sure you educate yourself and educate your legislator on what's happening out there. We're faced with a whole lot of people making emotional arguments about how they love guns or hate guns, and how guns are protected by the Second Amendment, they're constitutional, they can't take them away. We're not going to be able to sweep up 400 million guns out of all of the homes in America. All of these things boil down to understanding that the principle of self-defense applies to everyone. We all have the God-given, natural-born right to defend ourselves with the best means possible. And when you do that, expect that the authorities are going to investigate every bit about what you did, because that's what we want them to do. We don't want people running around on the streets shooting each other for no reason. But you know what? If a bad guy's trying to kill you, you have a reason to shoot him. Now, we don't want to kill him. We just want to stop the threat. We want him to stop his assaultive behavior. But we have the right to use whatever force is deemed reasonable to stop that person. So all of these questions are coming into play, and they are going to unfold in great splendor coming up to the next presidential election. Because if you think about what's happening in the news right now, politically speaking, this next presidential election is going to be very tumultuous. And guns are going to be right in the forefront of it because it is a hot button emotional issue that will get people out to the polls. So you, as an informed voter, your job to figure out where you stand, what you believe in, and what you are going to support. Again, the principle of self-defense applies to us all. I implore you to contact your state representatives, your national representatives, and tell them that you believe in the principle of self-defense and you want them to believe in it as well. They shouldn't be working to take our guns away. They should be working to reduce crime. There is a big difference in that area. Now, if you were to ask me specifically what I think is going to be the talking points for gun control advocates coming up through the next presidential election cycle, we're going to be looking a lot at the term assault weapon and large capacity magazine. Now understand that there's no such thing as an assault weapon. It is a semi-automatic rifle, just like any other semi-automatic rifle. And standard capacity magazines, those are the magazines that come standard with your firearm, often hold more than 10 rounds. So magazine limits and this term assault rifle, those are going to be very big topics. And much more quietly, but still just as important, you're going to be seeing lots of avenues toward litigation against gun companies. People are going to want to try to sue the gun companies out of business, and they're going to want to say that gun companies are responsible for putting all these guns on the street. Honestly, no, they're not. I could talk about that for hours. Understand that no one should be allowed to sue a manufacturer of a product when that product is used illegally, because the transfer of that responsibility is into the hands of the person who uses the product. If we're allowed to sue gun companies because criminals use guns, then I want to make sure we're suing car companies and distilleries and everybody else. We're a very litigious society, so if we're opening the floodgates of lawsuits, man, if we can hold the manufacturers of products that are used irresponsibly, if we can hold them responsible for what's happening, the lawyers are going to make millions. We can't do that. We would put all of our businesses out of business because, quite frankly, personal responsibility is the idea that people need to wrap their head around and know that it's the criminal's fault. It's not the gun maker's fault. That's going to be an issue that will be on the ballot. It's going to be quieter. You're going to see it in congressional hearings. You're going to see it leading up to that. You have to pay attention to what your lawmakers are saying and doing, because if your lawmaker is talking about suing a gun company because that gun company built the gun that was used in a crime, you need to have a very serious talk with that lawmaker or decide whether or not you're going to support that person, because they're not behind the principle of self-defense. They're looking at the wrong thing to try to reduce crime. So if you're looking at this historically, understand that, yes, Joe Biden is going to run for re-election. And you need to remember that way back in 1993, Joe Biden wrote that original assault weapons ban. He has been anti-assault weapon for his entire career. That's going to be an issue. It was an issue back in the 90s. It was an issue when Barack Obama and Biden were running on their ticket in the early 2000s. We're going to see that coming up again and again. These are the topics that are going to happen. It's just rinse and repeat. They're talking about the same things over and over for the past 30 or 40 years. Magazine capacity, the style of firearms, and whether or not we get to sue gun makers for the illegal actions of criminals. Those are the things that we're going to see, and historically speaking, it just keeps coming around again because it gets voters motivated. It's a true story of self-defense. We interviewed an armed Lyft driver who was carjacked to help answer these questions. Should I carry a gun while driving? And what does a carjacking actually look like? Just click the video next to me to watch this must-see interview.